Hey guys, welcome to your first project. This is going to be a very simple project. We're not going to really focus on creating an awesome design. It's more explaining of the files that we need to create for our theme, the syntax, the dynamic snippets, things like that. But this is what it will look like. Okay, so we have a header area with our dynamic site title and site slogan. We have our navigation menu. We have this area with the blog roll or the blog post loop, and then we have some widgets on the sidebar here. Alright, if we click on one of these, it takes us to the actual post with the content. Also has some comment functionality down at the bottom. Okay, if we click on About, that's just a standard page, and that's about it. So it's really simple. If we go into the back end and we go to Appearance Themes, you can see we have our simple theme here. I don't have a screenshot. I actually just used a nice image here that I created in Photoshop. But for the rest of the themes in the course, we'll have an actual screenshot. Alright, so that's what we'll be building. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello and welcome to your first WordPress theme project. This project will be a little different than the rest because it's going to be sort of an introductory project. I'm going to show you how to install and set up WordPress so that you can have a fresh installation to work with. Now we will be creating a theme, but we'll be focusing more on the code and the overall look than the overall look and style. Alright, so creating the files and folders, where and what PHP code to add, things like that. I want to get you familiarized with the PHP code, and then after that we can add some simple style. Now, as far as an environment, there's a lot of different ways you can run WordPress. You may have your own server set up. If you don't, you can use something like AMPS, which is what I'll be using. It gives you an Apache server, PHP, and MySQL all on your local machine. XAMPP or XAMPP is very similar. You could use that. You could use WAMP. There's also MAMP for Mac. There's a lot of different choices, but if you want to use AMPS like I am, you can go to amps.com. Just go ahead and download it. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Pretty easy to get set up. Alright, now I don't have WordPress installed, so we're going to go through and do that together. Although most of you probably already know how to do this. Okay, so I'm at wordpress.org. I'm going to go ahead and download the package. And I'm going to go to my server root. If you're using AMPS, it should be in your C drive or your root drive, and in AMPS. And actually, you know what? I think the default is in your program files, but I set it up in my C drive in AMPS, and then there's a www folder. That's the hosting root. So I'm going to create a folder here called WP Themes, and that's going to be the folder that I'm going to install WordPress in. Alright, so let me just open up my downloads, and I'm going to grab the WordPress package, open that up, and then just take everything from there into the project folder. Okay, so now we have the files. Now before we do anything here, we need a database, a MySQL database. If you installed AMPS or you're using XAMPP or something like that, then you most likely have phpMyAdmin. That's what we'll be using. So you can go to localhost, what shouldn't be localhost.org, that's weird. We're going to go to http localhost/phpMyAdmin. Okay, and now we'll go to databases. We're going to create a new database. I'm going to call it WP Themes, create. Okay, so now we have an empty database. Now we're going to go back to the files that we created or that we brought over from the WordPress package. And you should have this WP config sample.php. What we want to do is rename this to just WP config. You want to get rid of the dash sample. Alright, and then we're going to open that up, and I'll be using Sublime Text as my editor. You can use whatever editor that you feel comfortable with. So what we're going to do here is change some things, or add some things. The DB name we're going to put right here, which in my case is WP Themes. the DB user. Okay, my user is root, and the password. You want to put whatever your password for your database is. Alright, the rest can stay the same. We're going to go ahead and save that, and then we should be able to go to localhost/WP themes. Okay, so now we can go ahead and run the installation. Site title, I'm just going to call WP, actually I'll just say WordPress dev. Admin, okay, you want to choose your password. I'm using a very weak password. Email. And install WordPress. Okay, so success. Let's click on login. That'll take us to the admin login. Go ahead and put your username and password in, and it'll take you to your back end. Okay, we can go and say visit site. We'll open that in a new tab, and we have a brand new WordPress site. Okay, so this is what we'll be working with. So I'm sure you guys, a lot of you guys have experience with WordPress. Basically, we have our posts area here where we can create and manage posts. We can have our categories, pages. Okay, these are just website pages, like let's say about us or services, things like that would go here. If we go to appearance and we click on themes, that shows us the installed themes. By default, we have 2014, 2015, and 2016, which is the one that's enabled. But we will be creating a new theme in the next video. Okay, so we'll get to that next. Hey guys, in the last video, we went ahead and installed and set up WordPress. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start to create our theme files and enable the theme. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm using Sublime Text. I'm going to add my project folder so that we can access the files easily. We're going to go to, let's see, my C drive, amps, www, and WP themes. Alright, and then the folder that you want to create your theme in is going to be in WP content and then themes. Okay, you can see we have the three themes that come with WordPress already installed. Alright, so what we're going to do is create a new folder, and we're going to call this Simple. Okay, that's going to be the name of our theme. Now there's two files that you absolutely need in order to enable your theme. So one is going to be style.css, and then the other one is going to be index.php. Okay, now the reason we need style CSS is because that's where all of our declarations go. So the theme name, the description, things like that. So what we can do is open up a comment block, just like that, and then we can put in some fields. Actually, let me pull up the documentation here. Okay, so this here includes all of the different fields that you can use. Okay, so we're not going to use all of these. They're not all required. I'm pretty sure the theme name is all that's required, but it's good to have some other information as well. So let's say theme name, and we're going to call it Simple. Okay, we're also going to have an author, and you can put your own name there if you'd like. We'll have an author URI. So if you're creating themes for clients, you'd probably want to put your company website there. We can have a description. Okay, we'll say very simple WordPress theme. And let's do version 1.0. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that. Now just having this is going to allow WordPress to see your theme. If we go back into our back end and we go to appearance and then themes, you'll see that our simple theme is here, and we can actually activate it. Now, in order for a screenshot to show up here, you need to put an image in the root of your theme folder and call it screenshot.png. Alright, so I've included a sample screenshot in your files, which I have here on my desktop, which is just a quick Photoshop image that I created that just says simple theme. Alright, so let's go ahead and I'm going to cut that and I'm going to put that in our theme folder. So I'm going to go to my server root, go to WP themes, WP content, themes, and then simple. And I'm just going to paste that in there. Alright, and then if we go back to the back end and reload, now you can see that we have a screenshot. Well, it's not really a screenshot, but it's an image. Alright, now if we go ahead and activate our theme, go to our front end, reload, we get absolutely nothing because we haven't added any code. Our theme just contains nothing. It's completely blank. Alright, now if I was to go in our index.php and say test, save, reload, you can see we get test. Okay, so it's reading our index.php file by default. Now what we want to do is start to create our HTML structure. So let's put in some just core HTML tags. We have our doc type, we have an HTML tag, head tags, body tags, and we have title tags. Now, first thing I'm going to do, starting at the top, is our HTML tags. Sometimes you want to include a language here, and WordPress has a function that we can actually include here to make this dynamic. So we can do PHP language attributes, okay, which is a function, and that will determine the language that we want the theme to display. Alright, now in the title, you probably want this to be dynamic. You probably want it to have your site name and so on. So what we can do is we can say PHP, and we can use a function called blog info. And this is really useful because it has a bunch of things that you can get, such as the site name, the description, the character set, URLs, and the list goes on. You can actually look at the documentation to see exactly what it includes, but what we're going to use is name. Okay, so if we save that and we go back and reload, you look in the title, it says WordPress Dev. If you remember, that's what we called the site. Alright, so it's going to display the name. So let's go back to our head tag and continue. Okay, we're going to want a character set, so we're going to say meta char set, and then we can use blog info here as well. You could say blog info and then just pass in char set. Alright, and then if we save that and we go and look at our source code using Control U, you can look at both. The language attributes says we're using English US, and the character set is UTF-8. Okay, so those things can now be controlled from within WordPress. So the next thing I want to do is I want to include our style sheet. Okay, so we have this style CSS file. We actually need it. But if we go in and let's say we say body background black. If we save that and we reload, we're not getting a black background. Okay, it's not being read. So in order for that style sheet to be seen, we're going to say link rel equals style sheet, and then for the href, what we're going to do is we're going to say php blog info, and in here we want to say style sheet underscore URL. Alright, and that's going to get it from the correct location. So let's save that, reload, and now we see a black background. Okay, so whatever we put in our style sheet is now going to register. Now the last thing that I want to put in the head tag is a function called WP underscore head. Alright, and what that does is that puts any additional information that is needed into the head. So when you install a plugin, and let's say it needs to include a style sheet or it needs to do something in the head, this is where it'll come out. Okay, so when they create plugins, you can have stuff pop out right in the head. Alright, so if we look at the source code here, you'll see that we have a bunch of other stuff now, and this is all coming from that WP head. If I go ahead and take that out and go back and reload, it just gives us just what we have here. Alright, so you're going to need that WP head. So that part of the template is done. In the next video, we're going to start to build out the body. I'll show you how to grab posts, create menus, and so on. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video. Alright, so in the last video we created the two files that are required, which are index.php and style.css. We created the comment block in our style sheet. We also created the base HTML and the head tags, along with some of the dynamic code that we can use in WordPress. What we're going to do now is go in the body, and I'm going to just add some very basic HTML. Okay, we're going to create a header tag, which is an HTML5 tag, and let's put an H1. And in this H1, I want the website name. Now remember, we use this piece of dynamic code in the title. We can actually take that and put that in the H1 as well. So now if we save that and we look at our front end, we get this WordPress dev. Alright, now if we wanted to change that, we could go to settings, and where we have the site title, we could change this to, we'll say, my website. Save it, and now that changes to my website. In addition to the name, we can also include this tagline. Alright, so to do that, let's go and we'll say small, use small tags, and in here we want that blog info, but instead of using name, we want to use description. Alright, now if we go and look at that, reload, you can see we get just another WordPress site, okay, which is coming from here. We'll say the best website ever. And there we go. Alright, I'm actually not going to put that in small tags. Let's put it in a span. Okay. So let's add some more HTML here. We're going to go under the header, and we'll say div class main. Alright, and what we're going to want to do now is we're going to want to fetch our blog posts. And WordPress uses something called the loop, or the main loop, and that is all your blog posts. It'll fetch every blog post that you have, okay, regardless of the category or whatever it may be. Without specifying any restrictions, it's going to get every post. So first thing we'll do is check to see if there are any posts. So we're going to use an if statement for that, and I'm going to use the shorthand. Alright, now you could just as well go like this. Okay, but I prefer to use this syntax so that we can quickly go in and out of PHP. Alright, so we're going to say if have underscore posts. Okay, so that's checking to see if there are any posts in WordPress. Alright, and we probably want to put an else here as well. Alright, if there are no posts, then we just want to let the user know. Now instead of just spitting out text, we're going to use a function. We're going to say echo WP auto P, and what this does is it takes double line breaks and automatically makes them into paragraphs. Alright, so it's a good function to use when you just want to output text. Okay, so we're going to say sorry no posts were found. All right, and then here let's just say this is just temporary. We'll say posts found. All right, so let's go and reload, and you can see we get posts found. Now if we go in our back end and go to posts, you can see we have hello world. Let's go ahead and move that to the trash. And if we go back and reload, we get sorry, no posts were found. All right, so we know that that's working. Now let's go into the trash and just restore that. Okay. Now obviously we don't want to just tell the user that there are posts, we want to display them. So let's go back into here, get rid of that, and we're going to use a while loop for this. Alright, actually we need our PHP tag. Okay, so we're going to say while have underscore posts. Okay, now with WordPress we have to use this thing called the post. So right here we're going to say the underscore post, which is a little weird as far as the syntax. I've never really seen this anywhere else aside from WordPress, but just know that you have to have this as well. Alright, then down here we're going to say end while. Again, this is just using shorthand syntax. You could just use the curly braces. But what we're going to do here is when it finds a post, we want to get the title. So actually let's put this in an H3 and we'll say PHP the title, which is a function. Okay, let's go and reload, and now you can see that it's getting the hello world title. Now just for example, let's go ahead and create a post. Okay, so we'll call this my blog post, and let's just get some sample text. Okay, so we'll go and paste that in. Let's make this a couple paragraphs. Okay, and let's publish. Now if we go and reload, you can see it gives us my blog post. Now to get the actual content, we'll go right under this and let's say PHP the content. Okay, you can see WordPress makes it really easy in terms of the names of the functions. Okay, so now that's getting us each blog post content and displaying it. Now you'll probably want the date. Okay, there's different things that we'll want to display: the date, maybe the author, categories, things like that. So let's go right under the title and we'll put in a div. We'll give it a class of meta. Okay. And let's say created by, and then we want the author's name, so we can say PHP the author. Go back, reload, and you can see we get created by admin. Okay, that's the username of the person that created the post. Now if you want the date, we can say created by the author on, and then we'll say PHP the date. See what that gives us. Okay, created by admin on May 13th. So it gives us the date. Alright, now you can format the date in a lot of different ways. If you know PHP and you've worked with the date function, you know that there's a lot of different formatting options. So let's take a look here. So these are all used to format dates. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this because it's a lot. There's examples down here. For instance, let's grab this. Okay, we can take that and we can actually put that in the date. as a parameter. Okay, let's see what that gives us. And you can see now we get this format with the day, the date, the time, PM or AM. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways you can format it. One thing that I like to do is I like to use the time instead of the date. Now if you just use the time like that, it gives you just that, the time. It doesn't give you the date, but you can actually format it to give you the date. Okay, so in here we'll say F lowercase j Y for the year, and then for the time we'll say G:I A. Alright, and if we take a look at that, it gives us the date and the time. Okay, so it's all up to you, it's all preference. So before we go, let's just get a little bit of styling going here. Now I'm gonna add a footer to the bottom here. Put a paragraph in here, and we can actually make this dynamic. We'll put a copyright, and then for the year, instead of just typing in the year, we can use the date and then just pass in as a parameter Y. Okay, if we look at that, so we get copyright 2016, and then if we want the site name, we can just say blog info, and we'll pass in name. Alright, so now we have a dynamic footer. Now just to add some base styling, let's go to the style sheet, and let's do body, font family. Now the idea of this whole project actually is not to create some great looking theme. I just want you to get familiar with the PHP code and how themes are set up. Okay, let's say font size 15 pixels, color, I'll do dark gray, let's say background light gray, and then we'll take the header, and let's see, let's do background. We'll make this darker and make the color white. Let's make sure the H1 is white, and we'll add some padding. Okay, for the body, let's say margin 0 and padding 0. And header H1, I'm going to set margin 0, padding 0. And let's set the line height of the body to 1.7 em. Alright, now the reason you see this up here, the space, is because we're logged in as an admin, so even on the front end it knows that, and it's trying to display the admin bar. Now it's not displaying because we don't have the special function for it to display. So let's go to index.php, and then down right before the body, the ending body, we're going to say PHP WP underscore footer. Okay, and if we save that and go back and reload, now you can see that we have the admin bar. Alright, I'm actually going to add a little padding to that H1 on the bottom. And then let's add a container div. Okay, we'll say container width will be 1020 pixels. We'll set margin to 0 auto and overflow auto. Alright, and then we'll go into the header and say div class container. Okay, we'll do the same thing in the main. And in the footer. Okay, so now everything's moved in the middle. And then let's add a little bit of styling to the footer. I'll just copy what we have here in the header. Okay, we'll text align to the center. All right, let's add a little bit of margin to the main div. Okay, so now you can see that we have our header, we have our main area, we're looping through the posts, displaying them, and we have our footer. Now, common practice in WordPress is to break the header and footer into their own files and then include them in the index. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a new file, call it header.php, and then create a new file called footer.php. Okay, and then let's go to index, and we want to go from the very top down to where the ending header tag is. We're going to cut that, and then we're going to replace it with php get_header. Go into header PHP, paste that in, save it, and then same thing with footer. We're going to get from the bottom up to where the footer starts, cut it out, replace it with php get footer. Okay, paste that in the footer file, and everything should look the exact same. Alright, good. So I think we're going to stop here. We got quite a bit done. In the next video, I'll show you how we can actually make it so that we can click on these posts and it'll take us to that actual individual post page. Alright, so in this video we're going to take a look at the single post page. Okay, so right now we have this row of posts from our site, but that's it. We can't click on it and go to the individual posts where we would have our comments and things like that. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's go to index.php, and we're going to make the title clickable. Okay, we're going to add a link to the title. So let's go into this H3 right here, and let's add an A tag. Okay, wrap that around the title. And what we're going to put in here is very simple. We're going to say PHP the permalink. Alright, and let's save it, reload. Now you'll see we have a link on the titles. If I click that, it takes us to that specific post. If we click on this one, that takes us to that post. Alright. Now I just want to add a little bit of style here. I don't like the color of the links. I also want to make this bold and separate these a little bit. Alright, so it's good to wrap each post in its own div. So where we have this while right under it, we'll say div. Actually, we'll put it in an article. Oh, I don't want that there. Put that there. And then let's add this, we'll say class equals post. Alright, and then in our style sheet, let's add that, and we'll say color will be just the same as the text. Alright, and then we can say article.post, and let's just add a border to the bottom. Okay, so now they should have a border, and that's good. Okay, now we have the title, and title has a link, but usually you'll see some kind of read more button as well. So let's go ahead and add that. All we have to do is just copy that, put that right there, give this a class of button, and then that's gonna, whoop, what am I doing? We don't want to do that. We just want to put the text here, so we'll say read more. But I do want to give this a class of button. Alright, so now we should have a link that goes there as well. Okay, so in here we'll say article.post A, and actually it's going to be a.button. And then what I'm going to do is just add a background. Color will be white, and padding let's also add margin bottom. Okay, we're going to have to put an overflow here. We'll say overflow hidden. And let's make this button, we're going to make this display as a block, as an inline block. Okay, let's take the text decoration off as well. Okay, so we can now go to the single page. Now in the single page we don't want this to be a link, and that's kind of silly, so we want to change that, and there's going to be other things we want. We're going to want a comment form as well, so we need to have a special page for single posts. So what we can do is create a new file in our theme, and we're going to just call it single.php. Alright, and let's just say test. So if we go back here now and reload, we get test. Only on that. If we go back to our main website, our main post role here, it's fine. But if we go to a single page, we get that because it's automatically looking at this file. So what we can do is use index.php. We can use that code as a starting point. Okay, if we post that in there and save, it's going to go back to how it was. Now we can change whatever we want here, and it'll only take effect on the single page. So we can get rid of the link. Okay, we can get rid of the read more. We're obviously not going to want that. Okay, so now we have a single page. Let's make that meta, this right here. I just want to add a little bit of style to that. Actually, let's grab this. There we go. Okay. Actually, I want some padding on the bottom of the post. I'm not trying to go nuts with the styling because, like I said, I just want you guys to kind of learn the code rather than how to create a great design. We'll be getting into that later. So what I want to do next is I want to show you how to add an image to the post, a featured image. Now if we go to the form to add a post and you look on the right side, you don't see a featured image box, which you may have seen in other WordPress themes or other WordPress websites. The reason for that is we didn't include that functionality. So what we need to do is go into our theme folder, and we're going to create a file, and we're going to save it as functions.php. Okay, and this is where we can put custom functions. This is where we can hook into certain parts of the code. We can register widgets and do all that. Basically anything dynamic. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a setup function. Okay, so we'll say function simple theme setup. Okay, and you can call this whatever you'd like actually. And in here, let's say featured image support. Okay, so we want to use a function called add theme support. And then we want to pass into here post thumbnails. Alright, now this function isn't going to run just if we leave it like this. What we need to do is we need to use add action, and then there's certain hooks that we can hook into and run this function. So the one that we want is called after setup theme. Okay, so we're going to put that in here, after setup theme, and then the second parameter will be the name of this function. Alright, so that'll run. We'll save it, and now if we go back and reload this page, now you'll see down at the bottom we have a featured image box. Alright, so if we click that, we can go ahead and upload files. And let's see, you should have some blog images in your program files. I'm going to choose blog 1. And we're going to save that, and you can see it's down here, and we can update. Now if we go to the front end and reload, we're not going to see it yet because we didn't add it to our index.php file. Okay, so let's go to index.php, and you don't have to show it in index. You could just show it in single if you want, but usually you want it to show on both pages. So in index.php, let's just put it right below the meta. Alright, and it's not going to look too great at first, but we'll fix that later on. So let's go right under the meta div. And what we want to do is check to see if there's an image first. Okay, so we can use if statement. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to say if has post thumbnail. Okay, so if there's a thumbnail, then let's create a div. We'll give it a class of post thumbnail. And in here we just want to say PHP the post thumbnail. Save it, go back, reload. And there it is. Now it looks a little out of whack because it's not reaching 100% across the page, but we're actually going to put a sidebar in here in a little bit when we get to the widgets, so it'll look a lot better when we do that. Alright, but I am going to add a width of 100% in the CSS. Okay, so we have this class post thumbnail. So let's go into our style sheet and we'll add that. So the image we want width to be 100%, and then let's do height auto. Alright, so now it reaches across the whole page, and I know that's really big, but like I said, we'll get a sidebar in here and it'll shrink that up a little bit. Alright, now we also want the image on this page. This is the single post page. So we're going to copy this and go into single.php and put it in the same place right under the meta. Alright, so now we get it on the single page as well. Now the last thing I want to do in this video is notice that in these posts on the index page, it shows all the content. So if this was really long, it would show right here, and we don't want that. We want just a piece of the content to show. So what we can do is, instead of saying, let's go to index PHP, and instead of saying the content, we can actually say the excerpt. Alright, and what that'll do is it'll cut the content to, I think it's 55 words. Alright, and you can actually customize that and make it as long or as short as you want. And that's actually really easy. We can go into functions PHP and create a custom function. Okay, so we'll just say set excerpt length. Oh, I forgot to put the word function. And all we need to do here is just return a number. So let's say we wanted it to be 25. Alright, and then what we can do is, instead of add action, we're going to say add filter, because add action is usually used to add something or create something. Add filter is usually used to change something. So the filter we want to hook into here is called excerpt length. Okay, and then we just want to put in the name of our function, which is set excerpt length. And now if we go back and reload, now you can see it's only 25 words long. Alright, I actually want it a little longer. Let's say 60. Okay, so I really didn't need to do that, but I just wanted to show you that that's possible. Alright, so we have our index page set up. We have our single post page set up. Aside from the comments, we're going to do that a little later. But in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can create a menu, and we can start dealing with pages as well as posts. Hey guys, in this video we're going to start looking at pages and menus. Okay, so in addition to creating posts in WordPress, we can also create pages. So if we go to the back end here and we go click on pages, you'll see we have a sample page. Let's go ahead and create a new one, and we'll just call this about, and then I'm just going to grab some content. I'll grab 2 paragraphs. Alright, and let's just click publish. Okay, so we have an about page and we have this sample page. Let's create one more. We'll call it services. Okay, now we need some kind of navigation. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Now in order to use the menu system, we need to edit the functions PHP file, because right now if we go to appearance, there's no menus option. Okay, so let's open up functions.php, and we can go into this theme setup function that we created, and let's say register underscore nav underscore menus. Okay, so we can use this. Whoops, I don't want to do that. And then we want to pass in an array, and we're going to set primary, and then this will be the readable version. We're going to use this double underscore function. I don't need quotes here though. And what this does, this is a localization function. It has to do with using multi-languages in multiple languages in your theme. So we'll say primary menu, save, and now if we go to the back end and reload and go to appearance, now you'll see we have this menus option. Okay, if we click that, let's say create menu, and let's see, we have a home. Now you can see by default it has all the pages on the site, and you can remove some if you want, and if you want to add pages you can easily just check it, click add to menu. So we're just going to keep what we have here, and down here where it says theme locations, you want to make sure you choose primary menu. Alright, so we'll save that. Alright, and if we go to the front end and reload, we're not going to see anything yet because we haven't included it in the in our header file. That's where we want to put it. Okay, because we want it on every page. So let's go right underneath the header. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a nav tag. We'll give it a class of main nav. Alright, and then we're going to wrap it in a container. Okay, and then all we have to do here is we're going to open up some PHP tags. And I'm going to create a variable called args, and this is just going to hold an array of arguments, which we only need one for now, and that's going to be the theme location. Okay, we're basically specifying what menu we want to put here, and that's going to be primary, which is the only one we have. Alright, and then what we can do is we can call a function called WPNews, and we just want to pass in, I'm sorry, just menu, no S, and we want to pass in that args variable. So we'll save that, go to the front end, reload, and there's our menu. Okay, so it has all the pages that we put. If we want to go and remove one, let's say sample page, we want to remove, save, reload, and now that's gone. Alright, and just to style this a little bit, let's go ahead and go to Style CSS, and let's go down here and we'll say main nav. Let's give it a background. We'll do a black background. Color white. Okay, now we need to style the list items. So let's say main nav li. First we want to remove the bullet. We'll say list style none. And we want to float these to the left. And let's do padding right 15 pixels. And then we want to do the links. Make sure those are white. And we'll remove the text decoration as well. Okay, let's take a look. And let's do the UL. We want to remove the default margin and padding. Okay, and then we'll add some padding to the main nav. Say 5 pixels. And there we go. Now we have a little navigation menu. If I click on About, it's going to take us to About, Services. Alright, now notice when we go to About, it's formatted the same exact way as the index PHP. Alright, as if it was a post, and it's not, it's a page. We're not going to want this, the metadata. We're also not going to want a read more link. So what we need to do is add another page to our theme. So we're going to create a new file and we're going to save it as page.php. Now if I go back and reload, it's blank because it's looking at this file. So what we can do is get the code that's in index.php and use that as a starting point. Alright, and first thing we'll do is let's remove the link from the title because we don't want to go anywhere else. Also the read more, we can get rid of that completely. And it also has an excerpt, and we don't want that. We want the whole thing, so we're going to change that to the content. Alright, and then the meta, we can get rid of that whole div. Save it, let's take a look. And now it looks more like a regular web page. Okay, same thing with services. So that's how you can create pages and how you can target the markup for that page. You can also create custom pages, custom templates, so you can kind of have different layouts for different pages, but we're going to get into that probably in the next project. All right, there's a lot more to building a theme. There's a lot more you can do that we're not going to get into in this project, but I just want to cover just the basics in this project. All right, so we can now have pages, we have a menu. In the next video, I want to get into widget locations. Okay, I want to be able to have a sidebar with widgets. All right, so we'll get into that in the next video. Hey guys, in the last video, I showed you how to create a menu and how to add pages to that menu. Now what I want to do is I want to show you how to create a widget location in the theme. So we're going to have one widget location, and that's going to be in the sidebar. Okay, so let's take a look at index.php, and we have this div here with the class of main. This basically wraps around the whole thing here. So what we want to do is we want to go right after the main, the ending div, and we're going to create a div with the class of sidebar. Alright, and then what we'll do here is let's just say test. Okay, so that shows up down here. Now we want to float the main div and set a width, and then have the sidebar float to the right. So let's go to the style sheet, and I don't think oh yeah, we do have main right here. Margin 15 pixels, top and bottom, that's fine. Let's go ahead and float this to the left, and let's set a width of 68%. Alright, let's see what that gives us. Alright, so the reason that this looks really weird is because we didn't clear the float. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go under the sidebar here and say div class CLR. Alright, and then we'll go in our CSS, and did I already do that? No, I didn't. So we're going to add a class called CLR, and we're just going to say clear both. Alright, and then let's add the sidebar class, and that's going to float to the right, and we'll set a width of 28%. Alright, now let's see, we're going to want to put a container around both of these. Alright, because right now main has a container inside of it, but what we want is to remove that and put that above main and then end down here. Alright, let's try that. There we go. Okay, so now we have the main area and we have a sidebar. So over here we're going to want to be able to put widgets. So we're going to go to functions PHP, and we need to make it so that we actually can use widgets, and we want to define what location we want the widgets to be allowed. So we're going to go down at the very bottom here, and let's create a function. We're going to call it init widgets, and that's going to take in an ID, and we're going to say register sidebar. Now we are going to be creating a sidebar widget, but just know that no matter where you put it, register sidebar is the function that we'll use. Alright, even if it's not a sidebar, even if it's down below or in the header, wherever it may be, this is what's used to actually register widget locations. Okay, that's going to take in an array, and it's going to take a name, set that to sidebar, and then the ID, which is usually the same, just lowercase and no spaces. Usually use hyphens if there's more than one word. Alright, and then we can also use before widget. So maybe you want a div, we'll say div class side widget. And then we can do after widget. Actually, no, yeah, this should be an underscore. So after widget, that's going to be the ending div. And then we can also do before and after title of the widget. Okay, so we want an H3 before the title. Alright. Now this isn't going to run yet. We need to do add action. And the hook we want is called Widgets init. And then we want to put in our function name, which is init widgets. Okay, we'll save that. Now if we go and reload, now we have this widgets item on the side. And we have a sidebar location. So let's take the categories widget, bring that over. Okay, we can also bring, let's say, recent posts. We'll bring that over. Save, and then if we go to the front end, if we reload now, we're not going to see anything because we need to add it to our template. So let's go down to where we have the sidebar. And we're going to first check for the widget. So let's say PHP if okay, so what we're checking is going to be a function called isActiveSidebar. And like I said before, even if it's not a sidebar, this is still going to work. Now the location goes in here, and our location happens to be sidebar. Alright, and then we're just going to put here dynamic underscore sidebar. And then the ID of the widget, again, is sidebar. Alright, let's save it, reload, and there we go. There's our two widgets, the categories and the recent posts. Now remember we put the class side widget right here, so we can style these using that. If we say side widget, and let's do border, we'll add padding, let's say 10, 10. And let's do margin bottom. So now if we go and reload, now you can see they have a border. Let's do a margin top too. We'll say margin top 20 pixels. And there we go. If we wanted to make this look a little better, we could say side widget li, list style none. We could do line height 2.2 em. We could do border bottom. Actually, let's do dotted. And then for the links, we'll take away the text decoration, save and reload. Alright, so that looks good. Now for the pages, those are going to be messed up. Okay, if we go to the page, you can see that this is all messed up, and that's because in page PHP we still have the container inside of main. Alright, so what we want to do is we kind of want to just copy what we did in index PHP. Alright, we want the sidebar to go right after main and the clear. Okay, main ends here, so we want this to go there, and then container, we actually want to take that out, put that above main. Okay, make sure that we take the ending div and put that on the outside down here. Okay, and let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, so that looks good. Single PHP, we're also going to have to do that if we look at a single post. So let's go there, do the same thing. We're going to want this to go right after the main, and then we want the container on the outside. Okay, we'll take the div here, put that down here. And that should do it. There we go. Alright, so all the different formats, all the different pages are all set. They have the sidebar implemented. And of course, if you didn't want the sidebar on one of those, you don't have to. But since we are, if we want to kind of minimize the code a little bit, what we could do is put this right here inside the footer. So if we say cut, save, and then in the footer .php we add that to the top, save, and then go into page PHP, get rid of that because it's now in the footer. Same thing with index PHP, we'll get rid of that, and it should look the exact same. Alright. Alright, so that's good. That's widgets. Now the one thing that I want to do, the one thing left is comments. Okay, we want comment functionality. So this is actually really easy. All we have to do is go to our single.php, go where we want the comment, which is going to be right under the end if here, and we can just say PHP comments template, save, reload, and now we have comment functionality. So let's say great post comment, and there it is, great post. It has an avatar, it has the username, the date, and also a reply link. Alright, now I realize this doesn't look like the best comment section you've ever seen, but that's just because it's the default design. If we take a look at the markup, okay, you can see the markup, they separate everything so you can style. We have an OL comment list. Each LI has a class of comment. We have classes around the author, around the V card, around the reply. Alright, so you can style this however you'd like. Now, you can actually replace this whole template by creating a comments.php file. And I'm going to get into that later on. I don't want to do it in this video because this is just pretty much just a very basic introductory theme. So the comments are working. I'm not going to go ahead and create a custom comment template or anything like that. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, there's more we could do. We could create a separate template for archived posts. Actually, you know what I want to do real quick is the author. We have the author's name right here. I want to make that a link, and you can click on it and then see all of the author's posts. Alright, so let's go to index PHP and go to where we have the author right here. And we're just going to add a link around that. Alright, and then in here we're just going to open up PHP and we're going to say get author posts URL, and then in here we want to pass in another function called get the author meta, and we want the ID, so we're going to pass in ID. Alright, we'll save that. Let's reload. And now admin is now a link, which I need to change the style because we can't see it. So let's go to meta, put an A tag, and that's going to be color. That's going to be white. Alright, so if I click admin, now that shows us all the posts by admin, which are all of them. But if there were multiple users, multiple authors, that would allow us to see all the posts from that particular author. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Now, I realize this isn't the greatest design you've ever seen, but the point of this project was to get you familiar with not just the code, but also the structure of the theme, what files are included. As you saw, there's certain names that we need for the files, such as page and single.php. So hopefully you enjoyed this. We'll be using what you've learned in this project, and we'll be applying it in future projects, and we'll also learn more as we go. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next project.